I'm Julie.
And I'm Mike.
And otherwise known as Mo. And this is a hairpiece from Lordhair. Okay. Couple things here. First, I don't have this attached right now. I'm getting ready to do all that, and he needs a trim on the sides and all that. But I want to show you the importance of trying to put a hairpiece. If you put a hairpiece too far down, it looks funny. If you put a hairpiece too far up, it looks funny too. You got to try to find the sweet spot. Okay, and it's supposed to be 3 fingers high from your eyebrow. The good news with Mo is he still has a little hair right here in the front for me to kind of line up to see once where his natural hairline would be. Okay, this piece, the other thing I should probably say that if you are a first-time hair buyer, I really highly recommend that you send in your samples. They have a whole couple videos on how to do that and all that kind of stuff on their website. But Lordhair, they will send a service to your house to pick up the hair pieces the sample if you so want. So they can get that back to them relatively quickly if you're going to have it made. It takes about 8 weeks to have a custom piece made, but they match. Turn to the side here. So much better. Now you can definitely see a line here because I don't have this attached yet and I need to trim this all out. But I highly recommend doing that because nothing, a stock piece is never going to match as close as like when you send in your own hair on what they can do. The other thing is if you are over the age of 65, do not get a round one. Get one of the ones that has the V cut in the center because you're already receding. I mean, look how far he would be receding. This is a lot better piece than that as far as the receding goes. But if you put something round on, which is probably a little closer to this back, and this is even a little receding, it looks a little bit funnier. I don't know. Around across there, to me, anybody who's over the age of 35, and let's face it, you're already probably struggling with some hair problems, so you want to pick something that looks more natural. The other thing is, this first piece was made out of the Remy hair, which is the best hair that you can have made for it. But the follicles are a little thick, which means it's going to hold up a little bit better. But this next piece, I'm going with the European style, which is maybe just a little bit thinner hair follicle. I think maybe it'll match his own hair a little better, his actual follicles closer, but I'm not positive on that yet because I don't have any experience with that. But I'm just playing around with it right now. But currently I'm trying to get a cut for him that can be done with a clipper cut so that when we get his top cut the way he likes, that basically you can just very quickly clip up the sides and you can go to your hairdresser or whatever after they get the top done and you can do a quick maintenance, like they're just reshaving out your area. And speaking of that, I highly recommend that you make yourself a template. All of their pieces come with a dome on the inside, and I made this one match this one. And you want to make sure if you can kind of see, this piece, if you fit it inside here, matches this. Now, the reason I highly suggest doing that is because the first few times when I was shaving back out his area where the hairpiece goes, I shaved a little bit wider than was the piece, and it wasn't that big a deal because hair's on the side and you can kind of cover it up. But when I took samples and stuff, then I had to go down a lot deeper. This will help keep you in the guidelines that you need to be. And because like he does have hair here a little bit in the front, it makes it a little easier to line this all up to get a good cut every time with this. And it's not that hard to make the piece and trace it. You do want to be careful though. You do want to make sure that one fits the other. Mo's piece was a 6 inch across by 9 inch down, and you really want to go to where the hair is thick. And I know that's going to be hard to do for a lot of you because you're going to just want to not wear as big of a piece as you can, but it's not going to look that natural if you have a lot of real thin hair and then you're putting something so much thicker on it. You really want to make the commitment to cut out the portion that you need. His portion size for this was 6 by 9, and I think I could have went 9.5. But it's fairly standard piece of 6 by 9, but it's just a real tiny bit thin right there that maybe I missed it by just maybe a 1/4 inch. Also, the tape I found works the best as far as holding it on for a long period of time. Now, Mike has an extremely oily scalp, and he works in a factory. So when the temperatures are above 85 degrees outside in the factory, a lot of times it's close to 100, and he is oily, and nothing really sticks to oil. So the tape works the best, but the tape around back here, we have no trouble with lifting. where his hair is and where we shave it, no trouble lifting. But right up here in his very oily gland zone and where he sweats, that's where we have the most trouble. So he would have to change his tape, even the really secure tape, like every 2 days. But they do have nice little V-cut tape that fits right in there. So you can literally just change that out when you do it and re-stick it, and you'll be good to go for a little while. Now, the one thing about tape is it never looks quite as tight on your scalp as it does with a glue. So I highly recommend like this spray adhesive to touch up around the outside edge. If you just barely peel it back, or even use one of these like disposable brushes to kind of push it underneath there just a little bit and re-stick it down, because the spray is not waterproof. You can wipe that back off to avoid any stickiness on your scalp, but then you'll have a much more natural looking hairline. And with saying that, I also say that if you are very sweaty and you're worried about the hairline not looking as natural, then maybe you should pick something, I don't have this on quite right yet, something with a little bit more of a bang. Okay, just a little bit in the front. That helps hide the hairline just a little bit, especially if you have a lot of trouble with it peeling up, so that you don't notice that as much. Now, the style that Mike almost always wore was kind of a sweep over bang, so that isn't a big deal for him. And I think that if we can get this worked up, that I can take the clipper on the sides here quick, and we probably change his for sure, probably weekly. It might be able to go 2 weeks if we're just changing the front back here, but during the hot season, no way. And during the hot season, he'll have to change his tape in the front probably every 2 to 3 days. Probably. Now, if we're just going out at night and he just wants a quick application, you can literally just do the spray glue and then when he takes a shower, it comes off. But it depends on what your needs are and that kind of thing. So I'm going to tape up his hair, and I'm going to try to clipper this a little bit different. Again, I'm not a hairdresser. I don't know what I'm doing as far as training goes. I'm just trying to make this look the best I can for him. And the other thing is, when you're picking out a hairpiece, don't be scared to go with a little less density. This was a normal density. I think he could have probably went with a lighter density because I thinned out a lot of it on the sides and that sort of thing to kind of match his own thickness of his hair, because if this is that much thicker than this is, it's not going to match. And you think, okay, well, yeah, I want to make sure if I'm ordering a hairpiece and I'm trying to replace hair that I want hair. It's probably going to look more natural if you're already very thin to go with a little lighter density than it is to go with too heavy of a density, because they're not going to match up on the sides. So trust me, it's going to be so much more hair than you have, and you don't want it to look like a rug. So those are the tips I have for you, and we're going to cut this up and go from there. And I'll probably fast forward through some of this. Hopefully I get this to work. I'm a little concerned his spike isn't quite as short as what a clipper is, so I don't know how that's going to kind of work out. It always gets a little bit longer on his hair about here, so I might be bringing it up just a little bit to see how we can get this to work. And since we have another piece ordered, and hopefully it'll be here too long, if I screw this up, it won't be too bad. But we're going to kind of go from there in a little bit here. Something else I just want to mention, if you can see this, this is a piece of a parchment paper. And these are Mo's measurements on here, the little lines on what the tape I need other than the front to do his piece. And I found that this makes it a lot easier, and because it peels off the parchment like double-sided sticky tape, it makes it easier if you buy the tape all in a roll and it's a wider tape, that I can just cut this off and then have pieces, and you have a big tab thing to start to attach it and to pull it off. It just makes it a little bit easier in general. It's more like having the ones that you buy that are pre-done that have the double-sided that you can work with, but this makes it a little easier if you're measuring it all out. And right now this is 17 inches for the amount that he uses. He uses a 5-inch strip down the middle, 2 4 on the sides, and then ones sporadically, one on the fronts up here, and then 1/2-inch ones on the back and one in the middle to hold that all down good. Okay, here's his hair piece upside down, and I put pins in it to hold it onto the styrofoam head. But this is all that I can pull these off, and the sticky tab will be ready to go then for when it's time to put it on his head. But that's how I always kind of get it prepped up and ready to go for him beforehand. And if I don't get it just perfect on that edge, it's not as big a deal as I can glue just a little of that in there. All right, so most of this I'm going to fast forward through, but I'm going to try to get this lined up on where I think his hair starts and where it should go on his piece here. It's hard for me to tell where his other line was because I let it grow out so much. It's pretty good. Pretty good there. Just a bit. How does that feel to you? About right? Okay, so well, I can't put a stick pin in his head to know where it's gonna be. And I think I've got it fairly centered for where his piece normally would have been. So then I just kind of go around the outside of this and give myself a line. Kind of got the parameter. That's what I mean about always kind of putting that plastic piece back on there, because it can be a mess otherwise. Here, let me get you. I'll move the adjustable blade out a little further. Give me just a little more length here now. I already got a little bit more of a line here on this side. I'm going to try to be great if I could just make sure I could cut that off to that length, but I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah. Before we can get it on there, I'm going to...
Careful.
Hopefully. This was my goal at the beginning, so. All right. Try it. Go take a shower. All right, he's all fresh out of the shower. He's not nearly as greasy. This is a scalp protector and prep. To me, it's basically alcohol, so you can use that too. I like to pump it a little with my hand first so that you can get some of that. Probably feels a little much today. But I go all over, and especially right here on him because of all those oil glands that he has. Is it burning too much, babe? Is it burning too much, babe?
Nope.
Okay.
I tell you.
Okay. So, I think that's pretty good there. Then I'm going to pull all these tabs off and I'm going to try to get this lined up. Now, the thing about with tape is you get a one-shot deal at it because it sticks. If you use the spray adhesive and you do it daily, which is a really easy app, you can shift it a little bit until it gets set up, which is really nice for really good placement, because placement's always the hardest thing when you're starting out here. Now, because where I have the camera set up, I'm not sure if I can place this or not. I got all the pieces of parchment on here yet. Let me get it going the right direction here first. Kind of get a idea of where it's sitting. Okay, and they have a tag that comes on the back, and I always try to kind of line up. This is where the tag, I'm going to line it up when I do that, and I'm going to try to trim this in because I want a little bit shorter on this, so I'm going to try to make that just a tad shorter, but then let it kind of go up into the spike and see how that works. But let me pull off all the tabs, and we're going to be to the sticky part and see where we go. Whoop, sorry, there was just a little sticky piece. Okay, I have to back up the camera a little. Now, I remember that the tag I said was going about right here. This is the most difficult part. Always. And, oh man, you kind of snap it down. I think we're pretty close there. Okay. Now keep in mind, if something folds over a little bit, as long as it's not right in the front, it's probably okay. And I'm gonna move this forward a little bit.
Back up there.
It looks funny because it's styled it all. Sorry, I just ripped off your toes.
The camera showed it.
I did. Okay, now I'm gonna have to wet this a little bit and get it styled some here, but it definitely,
That's helping.
It's getting this. See, I have this just a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna try to blend that into that just a little bit. Same thing over here, but this again I think is just a little thick for him. So this is the thinning scissors like I was talking about, and you're not actually taking off length, you're just trying to make it like a little bit thinner, and I find if I do that like along here, it makes it look just a little bit better. But I'm gonna wet that just a little bit and we're gonna go from there. And I like to blow dry his front a little bit to get it a little bit more wispy looking. Too hot?
No, looks good.
Okay. No. Okay. So I feel like I have just a little bit more blending to do back here, but it's very close on this side. Turn your head. It's very close. Now, he does slowly start to get dark a little bit more on his own here, but where this matches and this matches is pretty good, but I'm going to try to get that line evened up just a little bit more because I feel like this is just, the piece is just a tad bit too long right there to get it to blend in with what I just did. So I'm just trying to kind of blend this around. He has just a little bit of a difference between the hair up here and here, and I think some sun fading from different season to different season. When he first got it, it matched real good. Right now, I'm just trying to take this part out. If you can see, I'm just trying to kind of blend that to make it just maybe a little thinner on the ends, so it blends into his own hair just a little bit more. And I also got these straps that you can kind of pull down on, like when you're first gluing or whatever, you can hold this down. He doesn't need it too much. Let me grab this other stuff. And if you have a tendency to have this hair wax stick, works real good, like if you have something that maybe pops up a little bit more. Since I just got this kind of wet, it's not, but right here sometimes he gets just a little spot that wants to pop up, and I can rub that across there and kind of brush it down, and it'll stay down and look a little smoother. And I definitely recommend, a lot of times I use a leave-in conditioner on it too. Of course, it's about out. And I think it helps make it look maybe a little softer. His natural hair is definitely softer and shinier than the piece is. So to get it to blend just a little bit more. There we go here. And right here. Now this will be the first part that comes up on him. Right here. Okay, so that might be where I add a little bit of the spray glue and that kind of stuff just to see once how that is. Do you want to comb back more or do you want a little more bang?
That's all right. A little more bang. That's
more
fine. No, that's fine.
I think it's up there a little bit high.
I can see, that part back there.
Maybe just a little bit. But like I said, if you give yourself just a little bit more bang in the front, then helps hide it. Now turn to this other side. I can always tell more in the camera than I can that way. So I don't have this quite right here. So I'm going to mess with this just a little bit more. And we'll show you the final results when I kind of get there. But I'm not sure if I can really take it all the way up with the clippers, because I don't know how it's going to blend from one to the other. If you got it in the exact spot every time, but I'm just going to try to fade this line where it attaches in just a little bit more. So we'll see once here. Okay, so I finished up everything with the style. Go ahead, turn. Okay, pretty good blend. Pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to take a little closer up picture. How are you? Happy with it, Mo? Okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, and as this loosens up, then to replace the tape and the V in the front so it can last closer to a week. You get a little bit fluffy there. And And then if you need to spray, touch it up in the middle. That's the best way to do it during the heat conditions. But when it's like October, he can wear it all week. 1 week for sure. So